All right, go ahead.
Thank you. The June 30th, 2021 Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting is now in session. It's noted for the record that commissioners are attending this meeting via a web meeting and a quorum of commissioners is present for today's meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the internet and a link is posted on the Oregon Lottery website. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Patel.
Here.
Commissioner Telfer.
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox. Commissioner Wilcox. Julie, I think you're on mute. Chair Sathoff.
Here. Did we get Julie? I think we did, right?
It was a little distorted, but yes.
Okay. That's okay. Will the clerk please inform the commission of who else is in the meeting?
Yes, we have Director Barry Pack, Kathy Ortega, Kathy Stromberg, Chris Scarrow, Matt Shelby, Mike Wells, Nate Carter, Syed Hussein, and Ty Calandrello.
Thank you. Members of the public had the opportunity to provide written public comment to the commission for this meeting. It's my understanding that we did not receive public comments. Elisa, could you confirm that?
That is correct.
Thank you. With that, we're going to move right to our agenda. The first item on the agenda is Commissioner Communications. And if you don't mind, I'd like to lead that today, and then we'll go to a few others of the commission and the rest of what we have planned for this section. First, I'd like to say that what I'm about to talk about is that it's a joyful matter, but I have to say it's with a lot of sadness. We're losing one of our commissioners, Commissioner Telfer, who's leaving the commission after today. And Chris, I got to tell you, I've been dreading this day. I've been putting it off and hoping you would keep putting it off. But it is what it is, and it's here. So for those of you who may not know, Commissioner Telfer joined the commission on May 1, 2013. Indeed, Chris welcomed me when my first day on this commission. So I wanted to give you a few thanks and then I'll open that up for anyone else who'd like to speak after that. So Chris, thank you for always serving as an ambassador for Central Oregon when hosting lottery meetings in Bend. Thank you for never being afraid to ask a hard question or challenge an assumption. That's been a huge help to me. Thank you for engaging with the staff directly while maintaining cordial relationships. I can tell you that from here on out, anytime anybody says anything about timing differences, we're going to remember you very fondly. Thank you for bringing your experience as a state senator and local government leader to our policy discussions. Thank you for your steadfast commitment to Oregon lottery retailers. Thank you for ensuring our policy discussions considered the entirety of the state and not simply our major population centers. You've been our conscience on that. Mostly, I want to thank you for serving the state so proficiently and being both a mentor, a confidant, and a friend to me. So with that, I will allow anyone else who feels they want to say something about, for me, a very sad day, respecting Commissioner Telfer's stepping down.
Marty Lynn, I'll jump in if that's okay.
Okay, that's great.
Chris, I want to thank you. I think Marty covered so many topics so well, but I just wanted, from a personal perspective, to thank you for your service to the state of Oregon, both as a state senator and now as a lottery commissioner, having completed 2 full terms of duty and gone through 2 contract renewal rounds. Your advice and counsel and history on that was really invaluable to me as we put together what I think was a very strong contract for both lottery and our retailers and accomplished some key goals. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you, Chris, from your integrity and your commitment to transparency, to your understanding of the political environment that we operate in, and to your commitment to the people of Oregon. And I want to thank you personally for staying on a couple extra months past your term to get us through this budget. I again appreciate your history and your wisdom on these things. And like Marty, I'm going to miss you while you're gone. And I hope that you enjoy a true retirement for a change and maybe at least take a few months before you get yourself involved in something else and travel and spend time with your family and enjoy life a little bit. So again, from my heart, thank you.
Thank you.
If I think what we should probably do is, I know Barry and I are going through withdrawal, Chris, so I hope that your door will still be open for me to call whenever I need a little advice, and I know that you'll make that happen for me. With that, we also, under Commissioner Communications, we usually have an audit committee update.
Well,
and
Marty, before
Yep.
we go to the audit,
Sure.
I want to thank the comments that were just made. I appreciate that. I will definitely miss lottery. It's been an exceptional 8 years. I can tell everybody that the Oregon State Lottery is certainly an asset to Oregon. It's exceptional. And it's exceptional, I think, because in 8 years, it's had exceptional commissioners, it's had exceptional executive directors, and an extremely exceptional staff. I've got to tell you, the staff at Oregon State Lottery is probably the most talented, dedicated, creative, skilled I've ever had the privilege to be a part of. And my door is always open to you when you come to Central Oregon. My phone's always available for input, questions, whatever. But while I'll miss you all, I will peek my head in when I come to Lottery in Salem to claim my winnings. So you may see me again, hopefully.
I have a feeling we'll see much more of you, Chris. But thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty Lynn.
Yeah. Any other, maybe before we get to the audit committee, if there are any other commissioner communications, now would be the right time, and then we'll move to Marlene. Hearing none. Commissioner Patel, you want to give us the audit committee update?
Yeah, thank you. We held our audit committee meeting last week, and during that audit committee meeting, we had an ERM update. We went over the cybersecurity risk assessment, and we had an overall general status update. Within the ERM update, we heard that the executive team re-engaged in their ERM activities that are performed during a more normal, non-pandemic business environment. The executive team conducted reviews of the risk register. They updated the status, comments, items that were completed, and new risk statements. All of the new risk statements that were brought up had corresponding mitigation strategies that would be implemented during this coming fiscal year. We also reviewed the cybersecurity risk assessment, more specifically the CIS organizational controls audit. Overall, the internal audit team assessed that the lottery has incorporated many sound practices and security controls deemed necessary for the type of organization it is. There were 2 control objectives that were not met that management is working towards correcting this coming fiscal year. And out of the 18 audit recommendations that were considered open, 100% have been started and 88% have either nearly or fully implemented. Thank you.
Thanks, Marlene. Great report. Great job by the staff as well. With that, let's move to the director's report. Director Pack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few things to report on today. The first was a big accomplishment, our Aurora Go Live. After years of planning and testing and checking and more testing and lots of additional planning, The lottery's new lottery products computer system, and this is for what we used to call traditional products, Aurora, went live on Sunday, May 23rd. The previous computer system had been in place since 2008, and that system and equipment was becoming obsolete. Aurora manages transactions for all games, automated scratch and ordering, will have better reporting and analytics than the prior system, and also touch screens and motion graphics on the retailer equipment. As with any technology upgrade, we're learning new things and working out some bugs post go live. But overall, this is a huge step forward for us and couldn't have been possible without the tireless commitment from staff across many divisions. And quite literally, there are too many people to list, but thank you to all. After more than a year of closure, we welcomed lottery players back to the Salem Prize Payment Center on Thursday, June 24th. We served winners with appointments as well as drop-in claimants at a newly constructed walk-up window in the exterior of the building. The drop-in line ranged from a 45 to 90-minute wait, but folks stayed patient and chatted with many of the lottery staff in front of the building. Customers can make appointments for the Salem Prize Payment Center starting Monday, June 21st through the lottery website. With the new online appointment system, we'll be able to handle 80 prize claims each day. Things went about as smoothly as we could have hoped. I'm not sure who was more excited, the winners who could immediately claim a prize, or the staff who were able to engage directly with players again for the first time in more than a year. The weather early this week threw us another curveball, but staff and players kept cooler heads and the process moving smoothly. We plan on opening our Wilsonville Payment Center up to in-person claim payments by appointment only on Thursday, July 8th. Finally, I want to take a minute to say thank you to everyone who has been involved with our opening efforts. It was a heavy lift and will continue to present challenges, but everyone really stepped up to find the best possible solution. Lottery is planning to open our main building to the public September 1st, 2021, along with all other State of Oregon offices. As outlined by our CHRO, Janelle Simmons' email to staff, our modern work environment team, along with the executive team, have created a modern work policy and equipment procedure to give all lottery employees clear direction on our way forward. This is an important first step with more ahead. To keep employees informed, we've created a SharePoint page with a timeline, links to the policy and procedure, as well as frequently asked questions. And Janelle is meeting with each division's senior management team to answer questions and share job designations as remote, hybrid, in-office, or field. And we'll continue to engage our workforce to answer questions and gather feedback as we inch closer to September. This week, Lottery is using our in-house random number generators to run 141 draws to support the Take Your Shot Oregon campaign. I take great pride in our ability to support Oregon vaccination efforts and the reopening of our economy this week. Besides performing the draws, Lottery helped in many other ways. One fun fact, Lottery's digital designer, Luis Puga, created the branding look for the campaign billboards and digital ads. And our own rules and policy analyst, Chris Scaro, helped herd the proverbial cats across multiple state agencies, local governments, and the governor's office to ensure we had adequate administrative rules supporting the campaign. Moving on to a sales update, the calendar for this meeting lined up perfectly to capture the entirety of fiscal year 21 in this update. For video lottery, it continues to perform strongly against forecasts and well above last year's trend when the state was still coming out of the Stay Home Save Lives period. With the lifting of statewide restrictions today, we enabled nearly 550 VLTs that have been unplayable due to the physical distancing requirements. Early indications show the heat wave recently has had some slight impact on revenues, but more to come on that once we have a few more days of data. But overall, video lottery ended year 21 nearly 8% above fiscal year 20. Scratch-its continue to perform well above historical norms, ending fiscal year 21 32% above the prior year. And Keno finished 6% above the prior year. In our jackpot games, Powerball and Mega Millions performed much better in fiscal 21 due to the 730 million and 970 million respective jackpots earlier this year, and a lack of sizable jackpots during fiscal year 20. Powerball ended the year 29% above the previous year, and Mega Millions 43% above last year. Oregon's game Megabucks ended fiscal year 21%, just about on par. Oh, no, sorry. Oregon's game Megabucks ended fiscal year 21, just about on par with last year. I've said it multiple times this past year, but I continue to be amazed at the resourcefulness and dedication our employees and our retailers have. To end this fiscal year with the upswing we have is beyond the best expectations we had early in the pandemic. My hope is to maintain our momentum, but at a more sustainable pace for our employees in the coming year. As to winners, with our focus on reopening our payment centers, we didn't get to speak with as many winners to hear their stories this month, but now that we're open, we will be sure to capture some good ones to share with you next month. And I would just finally like to take a moment to share some exciting proud mom news regarding our very own Elisa Zavala. Elisa's son, Aaron, plays baseball for the University of Oregon Ducks. Just to give you an idea of how well Aaron played this season, consider these achievements. Aaron was named the Pac-12 Conference Player of the Year and collected 6 All-America honors from various national organizations. He is just the second Oregon Duck to claim all 6 All-American honors in a single season. Aaron ended the season batting .392 with 9 home runs, 38 RBI, and 64 runs scored. And I will confess that I know absolutely nothing about what any of those statistics means, but I'm reading what was written to me, while boasting a .525 on-base percentage and a .626 slugging percentage. He led the Ducks in batting average, runs, hits, 78, slugging percentage, walks, 50, and stolen bases, 11. He set school records for on-base percentage, runs scored, and walks. Draft season is just around the corner, and we're all wishing Aaron great success. And while Aaron really shone this year, he'd never have done it without the support of his parents. Congratulations also go to Elisa and her husband, and I'm very grateful she's a key part of our team. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Barry. And I just got to say, Lisa, wow. I am a baseball fan, so I do know what some of those stats mean.
Thank you, Marty.
With that, let's move to our next agenda item, and that will be the minutes of the previous commission meeting. The minutes of the previous commission meeting have been circulated to the commission in advance of this meeting. If there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes of the Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting held on May 21st, 2021 be approved as final as presented today.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Safoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. Okay. Kathy Ortega, Ms. Ortega, could we move to the financial report?
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair Safoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Kathy Ortega, Chief Financial Officer for the Oregon Lottery. And we're here today to go over the financial report as of the end of May 2021, which is the 11th month of our fiscal year, very closely approaching our year end. And looking at the operating statement for the month, we have net revenue of $115 million on a budget of $112.7 million, $2.3 million above budget. For the category of tickets, our scratch-it sales continue to be strong and above forecast, which causes a slight variance in the cost of our tickets to support that revenue level. Sales support, game equipment, parts, and maintenance, we're starting to get some of the year-end closures coming forward. We're seeing some variances there, but we are positive on a year-to-date basis. Under salaries, benefits, and wages, That variance that you're seeing there is due to, as you recall, we paid out a 2% bonus to all staff for the June 1st paycheck. And then net profit, we have 80 million on a budget of 74.1, or 5.8, 5.9 million above budget. Going to the operating statement on a year-to-date basis, we have $923.9 million in revenue on a budget of 912.5, 11.5 million favorable. And the categories that you're seeing here, I previously mentioned, with a net profit of 572.9 million on a budget of 549.4, 23.5 million above budget. On the schedule of services and supplies, we have some, most of the variances in the area, the big one in retailer network recovery are the line charges that we absorbed for 2 months for our retailers during the restaurant and bar closures during COVID. And we have a little bit of variance under our facilities maintenance line that may clear itself out by year end. I can't tell yet. It's a relatively small variance though. I also have our balance sheet for you today to take a look at, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the financial report.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Okay, Kathy, I was hoping there was a timing difference in here. So my last meeting, I could at least throw another quarter or have you throw another quarter in the jar, but no, good job, thanks.
It does look like things are coming back. I thought that the overall, obviously, you know, we're all hopeful that it continues, but and we'd like this all to come back a lot faster, but frankly, it's probably coming back faster than I have to say I expected. So nice report to, and nice job to the entire staff and leadership. So hearing no other questions, do we want to move to the next item? And I guess
Chair Sathoff, we need a motion.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sorry. I know that we've talked about this in the past. The next item is the lottery budget and compensation.
Madam Chair.
We need to do the financial first.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the, I'm sorry, guys, I'm just looking ahead, so I apologize. Is there a motion to approve the monthly financial statements?
I move that the Oregon
that
State Lottery financial statements for months ended May 31st, 2021 be approved for the record as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Sathoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion is passed. Now we'll move to the compensation item. And I know that, Barry, this is something that we've talked about in the past. It's consistent with the lottery's execution for other staff in terms of increases in compensation. Do we want to move to the motion, or is there anything you want to say?
Well, Madam Chair, I'd actually like to present overall the budget and the business plan, and the compensation is just part of the overall budget adoption.
Great, thank you.
So if I may, I will share my screen. For those who are watching, can you see?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So what I wanted to do is to give you a little bit of an update on where we have come since we adopted the strategic plan, and then how that rolls into the fiscal year 22 recommended budget. And I'm gonna figure out how to advance my screen. There we go. So what I want to cover today is just a refresh around the strategic plan and the 5 pillars that you approved about 3 years ago, talk about some key accomplishments over a plan, build, execute timeframe, hit some highlights of the budget request, talk about what's directly related to that strategic plan, spend a little bit of time talking about what's not there and needs further analysis, and then going over any questions and discussion that you may want to have. So just as a reminder, these were the 5 pillars that formed the basis of our strategic plan: strategic revenue growth, leveraging our current portfolio, establishing and maturing governance, business modernization, and our brand promise. And in the execution of these pillars and the strategies and the tactics behind them, what we've really come to realize over the last couple of years is that really only 2 of them contain key strategies: that revenue growth and leveraging our current portfolio to get the best bang out of the buck that we have. The other 3 are really enablers. They are a series of projects and tactics and strategies and frameworks that really help support the efficient operations of the organization and then the organization's ability to realize the key revenue strategies that are over on the left-hand side. So we have been going through a planning and execution timeframe, and we've over the last couple of years had many conversations at the Commission about spending down in the modernization budget, and questions about are we on schedule? Are we on track? Are we able to spend the money we thought we were? Are we making changes? And some of those, Commissioner Telfer, timing differences were really because we had to spend a couple of years going through the discovery and planning phases before we can actually then begin into delivery and execution. And then, of course, throw in COVID-19 and over a year's worth of business disruption. We're now in 2021 and beyond looking at really being able to execute, mature, and optimize on the strategies. So 2018, 2019, really about planning, and now we're moving in to the implementation, which is why you'll start seeing those reserve funds that we've set aside starting to show up on our financial statements as being spent, and those reserves going down. I just wanted to give a few examples of progress that we have made aligned with our strategic pillars. This is not, a list of everything, but it's certainly some key accomplishments. We developed our first mobile app. It's the convenience app to where players can check their tickets to see if they're winning, and launched a redesigned website that's built off of a modern architecture that can really enhance our customer experience as they navigate through looking for the information they want. Of course, we launched Scoreboard. That was a big lift and a big accomplishment. We overhauled our compensation and classification system, modernizing that after probably almost 2 decades. We've upgraded our internal external networks. We've made significant progress on IT's moving to a cloud and becoming a better, more modern business partner. Part of that is also implementing identity and access management as a service, and we migrated our email to Office 365. We replaced our RNGs for our draw games, and we're utilizing them this week heavily on the Take Your Shot Oregon campaign. We've been working to identify the key capabilities we need among our staff to enable and achieve the strategies that are in the strategic plan. And we've either hired, recruited, developed staff to have those, or formed centers of excellence to deliver that expertise across the enterprise. I mentioned with Commissioner Telfer that we renewed all of our contracts and made that shift to dollars played for video lottery, which will enable a lot of our future revenue strategies, as well as upgrading the video lottery system, our traditional lottery system, getting into Walmart. And then, of course, this wasn't actually in the strategic plan, but I felt like I couldn't get by without saying that we did all of this, or a lot of this, while managing the pandemic and wildfires with VLT moves, barriers, enforcing the COVID-19 restrictions, and still maintaining our ongoing equipment management and deploying, and still, despite all the revenue losses, maintaining high bond ratings for the state of Oregon. So while we don't always report on this on a monthly basis, I thought it was good just to present to you an overall snapshot of some fairly significant progress That brings us to today and the fiscal year 22 budget request. There's a lot in there that you've seen that are just our standard operating budgets, and there's really three buckets that I wanted to highlight for you today. The first is in game content and equipment. There's 8.15 million for new video lottery game sets. We've learned over time that content is king, and making sure that we maintain fresh game content for our players is critical to maintaining our revenue. There's $30 million in current reserves that are being spent between fiscal year 21 and 22 to purchase 1,820 new VLTs. For salaries and benefits, there's a budget in here for a 6.5% pay increase for all employees effective July 1st, if approved today, and funding to fill 32 vacant positions that we've identified as necessary to be able to support the activities and the objectives for the year. The third bucket is the modernization and business investment bucket. This is part of those key enablers in our 5 pillars. 27.1 million to continue modernizing our back office and gaming systems, to invest in our IT infrastructure, architecture, and data management, to support product and brand promise and research and development, and to maintain operational excellence. And I want to dive just a little deeper into this bucket. These are the next steps on our strategic roadmap. So in that 27.1 million, we've identified 15.8 to modernize our back office systems and gaming systems and processes. So how we manage claims and payments, replacing some very obsolete systems that will support a retail partner management system. We've upgraded our intelligent gaming system, but now we can start focusing in on the value add modules that we talked about, ticket in, ticket out, and wide area network progressive jackpots. And of course, we're upgrading our financial system to D365, and there'll be ongoing releases as that moves into the cloud. There's 3.9 million in IT costs, so helping build out an integration platform where all of our vendors and systems can integrate, maturing our enterprise architecture as we move to more and more digital interaction with our players and our sales. We've got a lot more data that we need to manage, so we need systems and processes in place for that. And again, as we move to the cloud, we need to make sure that we are focused on security and zero trust network access. There's 2.7 million for product and brand promise support, as well as some research and development. So expanding on our digital player experience, however they may interact with us digitally through the website or the convenience app. Developing some pilots and proofs of concepts to test future opportunities, and then other sort of research and development activities to figure out what might be working well for the lottery. There's almost 4.7 million for operational excellence. So these are just these are improving services internally. So our IT service management, we want to move our data center out of the Salem headquarters and into the state's state data center for a co-location. Will save us some costs and some maintenance upgrades. Continue to focus on the rollout of Microsoft 365 and all the add-on components there, and then continuing to move some of our IT systems from an on-premise solution to the cloud. So all of that then totals back up to that $27.1 million in the modernization roadmap. And then I have a few more slides that I want to walk you through. That's going to be a little bit of an eye chart, so please bear with me. But I think this will help understand a little bit in how we budget for these modernization efforts and some of the timing differences that come as a result. So this first slide is everything in that modernization bucket that I just walked you through that is either in flight or has been approved by the executive team for execution. So business case discovery has taken place, business cases have been approved, the plan has been approved, scope, schedule, budget, and they're either underway or on the way, and they've been prioritized by the executive team. So we're clear about where the priorities are and where the timeline is. The total cost of these programs and projects through the end of fiscal year 22 are 11.9 million out of the 27.1 million. Then there are a number of projects that are still under discovery or in concept form that make up the remaining 15.2 million of that 27.1. So for instance, if you look at the blue lines, you'll see D365/RF Smart. That's shorthand for Dynamics 365, so our financial system in the cloud, and the RF Smart are some scanners that are necessary for that work. We're going to go live with that late fall, early winter of this calendar year, but we know that once we do, there will be other issues that come up, defects, additional functionality that's not ready at go live, but will be ready shortly thereafter. And so we'll have a second release, and that has a cost associated with it. If you look at the orange line, Intelligent, we're in a discovery for ticket in and ticket out. Intelligent MMJ is the progressive jackpots. We're not ready to even be, we're just starting some early initial discovery of that. So that's, you know, out in the later calendar year. There's some dollars figures attached to that. But all of these lightly shaded bars represent work efforts that are still in concept and may change. The scope may change, the dollar amount may change. We may decide that it's not worth doing, or we're not ready for it yet. And this is where some of that variability in the expenditure of the modernization buckets come from. These are the R&D projects that we're talking about. Test and learn, or figure out what is the next phase of a project that's already underway. And then we're trying to forecast what else will happen in fiscal year 23. And we've begun to pencil out costs associated with that. So this is just, again, an attempt to help you understand how we kind of chunk out the work that we're trying to do and forecast it over multiple years, budget for it so that we have the funds available when and if the projects become ready, but recognize that the whole quarterly budget updates and the mid-year update are there to help us be a little more nimble as we learn more and see where our projects go. So finally, what's important is what's not in the budget. I talked a little bit in my director's report about returning to the office on September 1st. Our modern work environment is going to be different. We're not all going to be in the building. Some folks will continue to remote work. Some will have a hybrid where they're coming into the office for a few days a week. Others positions are required to be in the office or out in the field. And that may mean that we redesign the way we use the space in the Salem headquarters or in some of the depots. We don't have any funds in there in this budget for that because we don't know what the need is going to be. We have 30 million in reserves for new VLTs, but what we don't have is clearly identified the costs and life cycle planning for the entire VLT ecosystem so that we can get into routine reinvestment to keep our terminals from becoming obsolete. We're in the process of figuring out what that sweet spot is between what the industry best practice might be and what we can afford, and how we create an ongoing funding mechanism to support that work. We don't know all of the future of the back office digital modernization that we haven't currently identified. As I showed you in the last slide, we know some of it, but there may be more. We don't have any funds to expand into the digital sales channel because we don't have authorization from the governor or the commission yet to do that work, so that's not budgeted. And as I mentioned around the cost of the VLT ecosystem, all of these things have costs, so we need to figure out how to manage our contingency and still reserve funds for some of these investments that we need to run our business. There is some budget in here for in-person commission meetings, but not for the kind of retreats and work sessions that we've done historically. So one conversation we need to have as a commission is when and how often do you want to meet in person, and how often, or if we want to have off-site working sessions that are overnights and all that. There's limited in-state and out-of-state travel for training and conferences in here. We We put in a fairly conservative budget, assuming that most events would continue to be virtual this fiscal year. What we're finding is many states, including Oregon now, have lifted their restrictions, and many of the trainings and conferences that were planned to be virtual are moving to in-person. So there will be some demand to be able to go and attend those. We will be monitoring and managing that and coming back to you at the quarterly updates with updates and any potential budget impacts. And what we don't really have in here is a good 2 to 3 year business investment outlook. We don't know from an operations and digital modernization of our back office systems exactly what we're going to be looking at over the next 2 to 3 year cycles. We know this year and next pretty well, but it gets fuzzy after that. So we need to spend some time really putting that together so that we can bring you an outlook, a multi-year outlook as we budget on a yearly basis. So that is my prepared slides and remarks, and I'm happy to pause here and take any questions.
Questions or comments for the commission? Barry, I really appreciate the what we have for a budget. Obviously keeps us back in building our reserve, accounts for modernization, some digital progress, and basically keeps us in the game, trying to improve a lot of our VLTs and moving forward on our technology. I'm sort of your slide on what's not in the budget. It's a reminder to all of us that there are some unknowns here, even unknowns arising out of the legislature. And so this is going to be more of a dynamic going forward. As you learn more, what do we need to do to adjust the budget and possibly approve additional budget? So I do appreciate the overview. Anyone else? Barry, do you want are we ready for the question about the motion?
Yes, if there are other questions, there is a motion in your materials.
Yep. Is there a motion to adopt the fiscal year 22 lottery budget and compensation? I'm going to need a
I
motion.
move that the Oregon State Lottery Commission adopt the lottery's proposed budget for fiscal year 22, including the associated compensation increases for the director and assistant director as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Sathoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. If there's no other discussion on that item, we'll move to the legislative update. And I believe that Chris is on for that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, Chris Scarrow, Rules and Policy Analyst. Let me share my screen here. Can you see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have a quick legislative update for you. I'm happy to say that the session adjourned last Saturday, so I can give you a final update on the status of the bills we were tracking that affect us here at the lottery. So I previously told you about 2 bills that were specific to the lottery related to our authority to offer new games. So neither bill passed this session. Since my last update to you, the House Rules Committee did hear House Bill 3394, and they were interested in moving that bill. And we, Director Pack attended the work session and provided some language that would protect our current game portfolio, which the committee did adopt unanimously. The bill, however, did not move out of the Ways and Means Committee in time. All the task force bills need to go through the budget process. So neither bill passed this session. So we will continue these conversations, I'm sure. So in terms of lottery revenue, so the last day of work in the budget committees, they did allocate projected lottery revenue for the 21-23 biennium to our beneficiaries. You can see here some of the appropriations. And then at the same time, they approved many community-based projects to be funded in whole or in part with proceeds from the sale of lottery-backed bonds. So on this slide, you can see some of the types of projects that were approved. And then the next two slides, you can see some examples. There's too many projects to list here, but you can get an idea of the projects in communities around the state. And then back to policy bills. So you'll see here, these bills have been signed into law and they do apply to state agencies from an HR perspective, including lottery. So we do have to make some minor changes to our practices, mostly relating to hiring, but nothing too major here. And then in terms of government transparency, all these bills have been signed into law. In terms of the commission, starting in 2022, we will have a requirement to provide remote participation options for all of our commission meetings. They also approved an increase in the reimbursement for time spent serving on a board or commission. And then in terms of the rulemaking process in 2022, we will have to demonstrate that we took into consideration our rules' impact on racial equity for all rulemaking. So you will see that in your rulemaking materials next year. And then here's just some bills that have been signed into law that are mostly just good for us to know about. They don't require major changes for us. So next steps, I'll create a final session report to describe any implementation activities we need to do. They do plan to have a special session in the summer or early fall. I do think that will be limited to redistricting, but we will see. They do have to account for the additional congressional district. And then the next scheduled session is the short session in February. It is a little more limited than it normally is. So as usual, lottery can't bring bills to that session. And there's also limits on member bills and governor bills. So that is next for the legislature. So happy to answer questions, but that's it for your legislative update.
Questions or comments? Chris, on the House Bill 3394 that didn't pass, and Barry, I think you may have mentioned this to me, but I just want a reminder. They were going to, at one point, there was talk of a task force, an interim session work group. Are there plans to still do that, whether that bill went through or not?
Madam Chair, I think the way I would answer that question is that there are still ongoing policy questions that need to be answered about the future of gaming in Oregon and lotteries, mobile strategies in particular. The fact that these bills didn't pass doesn't mean those discussions are going to go away. What format and what venue they take has yet to be determined at this point.
Thanks, that's what I was wondering. Okay, anyone else on the legislative update? Well, Chris, I do have a rulemaking. Do you want to talk about that next?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chris Scarrow for the record, Rules and Policy Analyst. I have one quick rulemaking item. So you may recall previous commission meetings, the audit committee had looked at lottery's process for adopting internal operating policies and procedures, and they concluded that our processes were sound and consistent with our governing laws and similar to the practices of similarly structured agencies. They did, however, recommend that the commission consider a minor update to an old rule. And so In April, I presented a very modest amendment to OAR 17701000025 to clarify that the director may adopt internal operating policies as needed, consistent with any policies, rules, or direction adopted by the commission. So we filed notice of that change on April 27th, notified folks, the media, legislators. We provided 4 weeks for written comment. We also held a public hearing, but we did not receive any comment on this one. Lottery's DOJ counsel did review the rule change and didn't have any concerns. The final rulemaking report and rule text are in your materials, and Director Pack has reviewed the rule and recommends the commission adopt the rule as reflected here today to take effect on July 1st, 2021. Happy to answer questions. Otherwise, you should have a motion in your materials.
Thanks, Chris. Questions or comments? I know that we did discuss this rule previously as well. If there are no questions and comments, is there a motion to adopt the proposed rulemaking?
I move that OAR 177-010-0025 be amended as presented in the meeting materials today to be effective July 1st, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Satthoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Are there other staff reports or other business that we should attend to at this time?
None from me.
Great, hearing none. I will say one last goodbye to Chris, and please join us whenever you feel like in a public meeting, Chris. But this concludes today's meeting of the Oregon State Lottery Commission. The next meeting is scheduled on Wednesday, July 21st. Thank you for attending today's meeting, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Look forward to seeing you at some point.
I hope so. Enjoy your
Yeah.
pay increase.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye, Chris. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.